General Robert E. Lee led the Confederate forces during America's deadliest and most divisive war. Despite numerous victories on the battlefield, he ultimately bowed to overwhelming odds.
Robert E. Lee was one of the greatest generals in world history. He ranks with Alexander, Hannibal, Napoleon, Frederick the Great. He did, in fact, in many instances, more with less than all of those people did.
Robert E. Lee was born in Virginia on January 19, 1807, to an aristocratic Virginia family. He graduated from the U.S. Military Academy at West Point and married Mary Custis, the great-granddaughter of Martha Washington.
Once the Mexican War began, he was assigned to Winfield Scott's staff and served with great distinction there.
As a result of his exploits during the Mexican War, Lee was considered one of the most courageous, intelligent, and daring officers in the Army at the time.
After the war, Lee served as superintendent of West Point until 1855, when he left to take a cavalry position in Texas. In 1859, he was ordered to put down John Brown's slave rebellion at Harper's Ferry, which he executed in 1 hour.
At the beginning of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln asked Robert E. Lee to lead the Union forces. Robert E. Lee thought of himself first as a Virginian. He refused to do so and in fact resigned his post.
He would not take up arms against his fellow Southerners, even though he adamantly opposed secession and he viewed slavery as an evil.
He did not fight for the South until his home state of Virginia was invaded.
Lee distinguished himself on the battlefield and took command of the force he named the Army of Northern Virginia in 1862.
Robert E. Lee was able to defeat George McClellan outside of Richmond in the 7 Days Battle, forcing the withdrawal of the Union Army from its positions just outside of Richmond.
In the Second Battle of Manassas in 1862 and the Battle of Chancellorsville in 1863, he was dramatically outnumbered, but he was able to outmaneuver and surprise his enemy and defeat substantially larger forces.
With the Battle of Antietam and then Gettysburg in July 1863, however, the tide turned against the Confederate forces.
The fact that the war lasted as long as it did certainly is a testament to Lee's abilities as a general, given the overwhelming numbers and material that he faced coming out of the North.
By 1865, with odds too great and supplies too low, Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox, Virginia on April 9, 1865.
After he surrenders to Grant, he instructs his men to simply go home, not to fight a guerrilla war. He says, if you make as good citizens as you have made soldiers, then I'll have done my job.
Lee eventually became the president of Washington College in Lexington, Virginia, which is today Washington and Lee University. During this period of time, he did everything he could to create reconciliation between the North and South.
While still president of the college, Robert E. Lee died on October 12, 1870, in Lexington, Virginia.
Robert E. Lee today is remembered in the South as a hero, in the North perhaps as a traitor. He was a man of principle who fought for a cause he believed in.